Hello everyone, my name is Yeonwoo and today I'm excited to present an ethnography review on the thought-provoking book titled Healing Labor, Japanese Sex Work in the Gendered Economy. This 250-page publication was authored by Gabrielle Koch and published in 2020 by the Stanford University Press. To give you a brief introduction of the ethnographer Gabrielle Koch, she got her PhD and MA in anthropology from the University of Michigan and is currently an assistant professor of anthropology at Yale and US College. Her fieldwork was conducted over 6 years, starting from 2008 to 2013, inspired by watching a TV show named Ask Japan's Next Leader, which was broadcasted 2 days before the election of the new leader of Japan's ruling Liberal Democratic Party, which led to the prime ministership. In the show, a 24-year-old female office worker asked the frontrunners anonymously, would it be immoral to begin working in the sex industry, several days a week. Her circumstances was that she had certain financial goals in her life, but the poor salary wage, especially for women at the time, were burdening her from achieving her goals. One response was from Minister Tanigaki, which was an advice that she should not join the sex industry, but he just said that only and gave no other alternatives for this female office worker to pursue her goals. Neither did he address the issue at all. Abe Shinzo replied that commercial sex is a part of Japanese social life, part of the societal history. Thus, it is fine if the woman decides to pursue sexual labor. Minister Aso also gave a similar answer. None of the three frontrunners gave their ideas or solutions on the gendered labor problems of Japan. And inspired by this broadcast, Gabrielle Koch decided to write this ethnography to explore the gendered labor problems in the economy and sex labor, specifically in Tokyo. To provide a brief background knowledge of the book, Healing Labor primarily explores the sex working industry in Japan, with a particular focus on women within the industry. Professor Koch focuses on the deeply entrenched gendered economy that has long been a part of Japanese society. Despite former Prime Minister Abe Shinzo's efforts to promote women's labor market participation, which resulted in an increase in the women workforce rate, Professor Koch argues that many of these new positions are non-regular jobs. She contends that the government's emphasis was primarily on economic growth rather than achieving gender equality, and consequently the gendered economy continues to persist in present times, and Japan has one of the largest and most diverse markets for heteronormative sex work. It is estimated that there are approximately 22,000 legal establishments within the sex industry in Japan, with at least 220,000 sex workers. The number of customers remain uncountable. The author explores the complex relationship between sex workers' perceptions of sex, its essence and impact, and their envisioned political economic roles. Furthermore, the book examines how Japanese women engaged in the sex industry navigate the contradictions inherent in their work and its societal significance, particularly highlighting the interconnectedness between Japan's gendered economy and the concept of healing labor. The purpose of the book is to focus on the lives and experiences of women employed in Tokyo's sex industry and uncover the underlying tensions associated with societal assumptions about sex work, particularly in terms of feminine care. In addition, the audience of this book may include individuals seeking a comprehensive understanding of the sex work industry, both in a general sense and with a specific focus on Japan or Tokyo, as well as those interested in exploring Japan's gendered economy. Before delving into my personal reaction and evaluation of the book, I think it is worth discussing the primary ethnographic tools that are used in the book. Throughout the ethnography, the author relied heavily on two main methods: life histories shared by informants and interviews conducted with key individuals. These interviews were not limited to those solely working in the Seihuzoku industry, which explicitly revolves around sexual gratification, but also included individuals from the Mizu-shobai industry who are involved in the Yoru no Sekai, nighttime entertainment sector, such as kabakura, like hostess clubs. Additionally, interviews were conducted with citizens who had no personal experience with the industry, whether as workers or customers, to gain insight into their perspectives on sex work in Japan. I have observed that the interview methods utilized in fieldwork provide anthropologists with valuable opportunities to explore the experiences, beliefs, values, and perspectives of individuals. These methods also offer fieldwork participants to a platform to express their own narratives and insights. Additionally, the flexibility in terms of structure and format of interviews allows for customization to suit specific research objectives. As a reader of the book and as a student aspiring to engage in future fieldwork, I personally appreciate these methods. Furthermore, as a fellow anthropology student, I have been curious about Professor Koch's approach to conducting interviews. I wondered whether she started learning the language while doing her fieldwork or if she was already fluent in Japanese, as language ability is important for fully understanding the interviewee's stories. I reached out to Professor Koch's via email, but unfortunately I haven't received any replies yet. But if I do receive a response, I will make sure to share that information in case any of you are also curious about the same question. Turning to my reaction and an evaluation of the book, I found it highly enjoyable, particularly due to my pre-existing interest in the sex labor industry in Japan. The anthropological approach employed in the book allowed me to develop my own perspective on the industry and its interconnectedness with the gendered economy of Japan. Throughout the book, I encountered a lot of new information, such as the concept of healing labor existing within the ambiguous space between legality and illegality, as well as that the industry deeply depends on the perception that it is performed by amateurs. These very characteristics expose sex workers to risk and undermine their claims to labor rights. Interestingly, unlike anti-trafficking and anti-prostitution activists, the sex workers themselves do not view themselves as exploited or coerced. This nuanced perspective challenged my preconceived notions and provided a deeper understanding of the complex dynamics within the sex industry in Japan. Do all of you remember the first chapter of The Art of Being Human by Professor Wesh Fieldwork? We learned that a significant aspect of fieldwork involves asking questions, making connections, and trying new things. I believe that Professor Ko's fieldwork also exemplifies this principle. Particularly, I've noticed that some of her interviews were not formal one-on-one interactions, but rather conversations that took place in the context of daily life. For example, she posed a question to her hair designer during a visit to the salon: is the sex industry necessary to society? And surprisingly, her hair designer expressed a belief that the sex industry was indeed necessary as it helps deter sexual crimes. Similarly, Chie, a current Deri Herujo worker, provided a similar response during an interview. And it was intriguing to observe that many community members believed that sex work served as a means to maintain social order, despite the general public's indifference and apathy towards sex workers. And through the method of asking questions, we not only establish connections within the people of the society, but also gain insights that are derived from our observations and the broader context, such as the gendered economy in this case. The main points and key phrases can be summarized as follows. So first, the work of these women, however, remains stigmatized and unmentionable, reflects the prevailing perception towards women working in the sex industry. And the term healing labor, which is also the title of the book, permits us to consider sex and care in the same frame, according to Professor Koch. It is related to how sex work is viewed as a form of ritualized care provided by feminized labor. This care includes offering sexual services and providing emotional comfort to men, thus fulfilling their sexual desires. This aspect of sex work is seen as necessary to maintain social order and enhance men's work efficiency. Analyzing and observing the perception towards sex, the sex industry, the perceptions of people who have been engaged with the industry and those who were not helps us understand how the economy is always gendered. The statement highlights the significance of fieldwork in comprehending the gendered nature of the economy by examining and observing societal perceptions of sex, the sex industry, and the perspectives of those involved and uninvolved in the industry. The book served as an inspiration for me, encouraging me to step out of my comfort zone, both as an anthropology student and as an individual living in a foreign country. Given my initial interest in gender issues in Japan, reading this book allowed me to delve deeper into the subject and expand my knowledge. Moreover, it provided valuable insights into the practical aspects of conducting fieldwork, enabling me to develop a clearer understanding of the necessary steps and considerations when embarking my own future fieldwork endeavors. Overall, the book broadened my views and equipped me with a solid foundation for approaching my own fieldwork with a well-defined mind map. This is the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening.